Hello, everyone. My name is David Smith, and I am the host of the Armchair Commentary. On this week's episode, we're talking about the greatest Blue Jays that Steve and I have ever seen. That's right, we are assembling our all-time starting nine plus a pitcher. So we have a DH in there, all you purists, too bad. It's an exciting episode as Steve and I are both big Blue Jays fans. A lot to agree with, and we have some moments where Steve can't believe who I chose, but I think you'll appreciate it and can't wait for you guys to listen. If you haven't already, please make sure to check us out on social media. We are on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. If you're looking for some armchair commentary swag, check out our store on over at redbubble.com. Search Armchair Commentary. We've seen some pictures of some mugs. They look really sharp. And lastly, if you are looking to support the podcast, head over to patreon.com/armchaircommentary, where we're going to have some extra things available for the top tier supporters, including some exclusive daily fantasy sport content. So without further ado, Doc and the Bluebirds. So this week, Steve and I are back on our greatest of all time train, and it was time we talked about the boys of summer. We're in summer now. It's warm, it's humid, but we're still in quarantine. Unfortunately, we should be a decent chunk into the baseball season and talking about how Vlad Guerrero Jr. is the new MVP and how the Blue Jays are going to run away with the AL East. No, I'm kidding. But I miss baseball. So after a bit of a chat, Steve and I decided we were going to give you our starting 10, nine hitters and a pitcher. Is that what you've got,
9
Steve?
hitters. Yeah, so I got a DH on my list. So yeah,
I also have a DH on my list. Perfect. So we're
is it
just
Matt
doing.
Stairs or no? I'm just kidding.
Is it what?
Is it Matt Stairs or no? I'm just kidding.
It's not Matt Stairs. No,
It's not Matt Stairs for me
it's
either. I want to.
no. I was going to go out on a real big limb there and put Yorvi Torrealba, but I decided to pass on Torrealba this time. Or I could go really crazy and toss in the longtime Blue Jay Jeff Mathis.
Oh my God, Jesus, names I'd never thought of in years. Thanks for that.
Well, Jeff Mathis I don't even think he played a game for us. He was turned
No,
around
I know, but I
immediately.
remember the name. Like, there's lots of guys that have been in the system on the team and stuff that necessarily didn't play, but you were aware of. Like, I have a giant man crush on Jay back from the great heydays named Rob Butler that barely ever played, but I love that guy. like he played,
I get it.
but not much.
So I think the only way to do this is just kind of go over our list and explain kind of where we were coming from. There's guys on this list that there's guys that probably deserve to be on the list that I didn't see play that I'm not going to put on the list. Just how I feel about it. I'm not holding you to that standard, but that's kind of where I'm at with it.
I'm in the same boat as you. I didn't go
start. I'm going to start off with catcher, and yes, there are could I have probably put Ernie Witt there? Maybe, but my guy's Russell Martin.
Okay, so for spoiler's sake, my guy is also Russell Martin, with strong consideration to Pat Borders' 1992 World Series MVP. But yeah, Russell Martin's the best catcher we ever had, and it's not even close. So there's nobody else even close. I can't think of a single guy even in the same stratosphere in my lifetime.
No, because everybody else after that, like Darren Fletcher and like I said, Ernie Witt was excellent, but he was before our time.
Also, shout out to Charlie O'Brien, who was the first catcher to wear a goalie mask. I remember that.
Yeah, there was just something about the way that Russell. Maybe it's because of his passport that also played into it, but he also performed extremely well with the Jays in terms of the job of being the catcher. He wasn't always, hitting dingers, but I'll be honest with you, he came through in the clutch many times. But when he was here, when he was in Toronto, he certainly put together great seasons for a guy who had to spend much of his time working with a young staff, kind of teaching him the ropes. And it was, I don't know how you felt about pitch framing. I know that's more of the sabermetric side of things, but watching him call a game was unreal.
Russell Martin isn't the number one catcher on my list for his offensive output. Like he was.
No.
the way he caught Estrada and Sanchez and God, I'm struggling to remember the rotation now, but like veteran Burley in the first year, lots of guys, man. He was great. For some strange reason, I'm struggling right now to remember the pitching staff. Forgive me, but Stroman, young Stroman, like the way he brought him along and everything else.
Everybody except for R.A. Dickey.
Well, he didn't really catch R.A. Dickey, did he? What's his face?
No, once or twice. Foley did almost always, but.
Did we talk about it on that episode? I feel like we talked about it on an episode, like the very first game R.A. Dickey played in Toronto. He was our opening day starter for the fabled 2013 season that we stunk, but we thought we were going to be great after the Marlins trade. And it was JP or Sebia catching Dickey. Oh my God. Oh God. If I don't know if it's on YouTube or not, but I think there's like 11 wild pitches in the first 3 innings. It's insane.
That's rough.
But yeah, Russ Martin was the best game caller the Jays ever had, and I think that a lot of people that just watch baseball casually will be like, well, he never really came with that many big hits, and he wasn't that great of a hitter when he was in Toronto. He wasn't the guy who was in, like, example, Los Angeles, New York, or Pittsburgh previously, where he was an excellent offensive force. But his veteran game calling, his pitch framing, all that stuff, he was crucial. There's a reason we made the playoffs the first time in 23 years in 2015, and he was a huge part of that. So, I mean, the offense was great, obviously, not from him, but like the team's offense. But he got a staff that at the beginning of the year, no one thought was a postseason pitching staff, like right to the ALCS. And, if that kid didn't reach over the fence, like, never mind. You know what? Russell Martin's our catcher. There we go.
Yeah, 2015, he still had 77 RBI and 23 home runs, and I'd take that from a catcher every day.
Oh, absolutely. But that lineup was absolutely loaded. So he was seeing the best of everything because, like, they didn't want to pitch to Batista, Encarnacion, or Donaldson, right? And to a lesser extent, Tulowitzki, too. So, like, who didn't perform as well as a Blue Jay. But the threat was there. There was so much firepower in that lineup that, like, he was getting the best of everything. So those numbers are good, and he still hit the ball, and he still did what he did. But I don't think that, like, 2016 wasn't nearly as pretty because the offense wasn't as, like, we had 3 guys hit 40 home runs in 2015, didn't we? Donaldson, Batista, and Encarnacion hit 40 that year. So,
yeah,
like, there was.
I mean, in 2016, Martin still had 105 hits, which is one less than the year before, 20 home runs, and 74 RBIs. So he wasn't like a huge fall off. His batting average was less.
Yeah, his batting average in 2016 wasn't very good.
231 versus 240.
Yeah, so I have a rule. If you're hitting under 245 in baseball, you're not a good hitter. Like, that's just how I operate. 250 is like the air barometer. The Jays have made a living in our lifetime of guys hitting 250, like at least 250. And when they go below that is when the teams aren't very good. So that's just how I feel about it. But yeah, Russ is definitely my guy too. Like, I don't think there's any.
We're looking at you, Kevin Pillar. We're looking at you.
God. I love Kevin Pillar, but my God, could he not hit? Oh,
no.
God,
and when he did hit, he would go on this streak where you're like, Kevin Pillar has finally figured out how to hit in the big leagues. And then he would forget how to hit. And then he would be at like 222 midway through the year, and you're like, never mind.
I considered, since he's not going to be my list, I considered Kevin Pillar because he used to make all those great catches, but I always felt Kevin Pillar made catches more difficult than they needed to be. And that's why they were so spectacular. I personally feel that way. You may disagree, but like I always felt like his tracking to the ball, and he had get late jumps, and he'd always have to stretch out because he was short, like all those types of things. Don't get me wrong, he still caught them, and he still made the spectacular plays. But if you look at the guy in Tampa, Kiermaier, I think his name was, who would just make everything look so effortless. And that was why Kiermaier won the Golden Gloves and Pillar didn't, I think. But that's
absolutely.
All right, who you got? Where are you going next?
First base. Might as well go around the horn.
All right.
Who do you got?
John Olerud.
Same.
Absolute same. He's the only Jays first baseman with a batting title. The guy had like the swing, like one of the best swings in baseball, like top 10 probably in my lifetime. Great hitter. Okay fielder, wasn't bad. Very memorable because of the helmet. But yeah, no, I love Olerud. I think he's probably one of the most severely underrated players of the era. I think he's like probably the most underrated baseball player of the 90s. He was phenomenal. He was great right up until about 2003, 2004, actually. He was fantastic. Olerud was a stud and easily the best first baseman the Jays have ever had.
Yeah, he's well, and I like there's lots of guys that kind of fill in that role, but I feel like Olerud was more of a kind of a throwback to when you needed a legit first baseman.
He was a legit first baseman that could hit to any part of the field. Was a great contact hitter. Like I love John Olerud. I think I've mentioned him before in this podcast where I was a huge fan of John Olerud, and I feel like he's criminally underrated and forgotten by time. So yeah, Olerud. This list is probably gonna sync up a lot because we're about the same age. So
yeah, I think it's probably going to sync up. Our outfield might be a little bit different. I know that you probably have the same second baseman that I have.
okay, let's just get the second baseman of the way because there's not even close to a debate. It's Roberto Alomar, and let's just move on.
So
the greatest second baseman of all time.
I'm going to gush for a minute about Robbie Alomar because he's my favorite player growing up. Whenever I played,
so by all means,
I played baseball outside. So I lived in a tiny. I'm actually living in a similar place now where there are like row houses, and there were concrete. There's like this brick siding on the side of the house, and we used to play with like an aluminum bat and a tennis ball and the world's like smallest fake diamond. We would make this diamond up. And every time what you were all like the two plays you were looking for is as a hitter, you wanted to hit it over the building. But as a fielder, you wanted to make a jump throw to first.
Of course.
And if you weren't making the jump throw to first, then you were mad at yourself for doing it. He was one of the him and Patrick Waugh were the two guys I imitated every time I played sport. Patrick was like infamous butterfly glove save.
Oh, of course, yeah.
And I would go out of my way to make things more difficult to do a jump throw or to make a glove save because that's what I wanted to do. Robbie Alomar kept me in love with baseball for a long, long time, and easily like top 5 players ever watched. Love the guy. Absolutely love Robbie Alomar. Could not have him on my list.
So I will do, since you did it, I'll do mine. The jump throw was something I mastered as a child playing second base, growing up playing baseball. And what we used to do is, similar to you, is we would throw a baseball off a brick wall and do diving catches in grass. So like someone's like chimney or something like that, I believe it was. Yeah. So we would or we would practice throwing ground balls, which either dive and you get up and do like the whole turn across the body and sidearm chuck, like all that stuff. I mean, now I'm old and fat. I definitely can't do any of those things. But I actually turned a double play running and tagging bag and jumping over a guy and throwing to first. So that is a moment in my life where I duplicated Alomar. Alomar wasn't my necessarily favorite baseball player growing up. I've often said it's Ken Griffey Jr., which I started watching that Ken Griffey thing on MLB Network. But Alomar was easily my favorite Blue Jay. And also, disclaimer, he's my favorite Blue Jay of all time. So there you go. And he's the greatest second baseman in the history of baseball. And people can debate it if they want, but you can just look it up, and it's not even close.
Yeah, there was no way Alomar wasn't going to be on both of our lists, especially given when we grew up watching the era and the team that we both support. It just wasn't going to happen. No. I don't know if you could.
And like I said, he's legitimately, I think, the greatest second baseman of all time. Like I don't think anyone has a solid argument to anyone else. So
if any of our listeners try to at me with Aaron Hill, I'm going to lose it.
Aaron Hill had that 1 year. He had that 1 year, but no, Aaron Hill was. Remember Russ Adams? He got he got the gift and couldn't throw the ball to first. Oh God, it's been rough, man. Him and Chuck Knobloch, but Knobloch didn't play for the Jays. Go ahead.
So shortstop, moving around the horn here.
Oof, this one's a little harder.
Well, so I think we had this chat.
We did, and I think we have the same answer because of it. But go ahead.
Yeah, it came down to Tony Fernandez.
Yeah, it did, and that's unfortunate. But he's not Tony Fernandez just recently passed away in the last year too, so I'm going to be gentle on this. The Jays have never been loaded at shortstop, and if Tulo had played to his potential, or if Tulo had played as well as he had in Colorado, he probably would have easily taken this spot. Unfortunately, He did not. So Tony
Same
Fernandez,
with Jose Reyes in his prime, right?
Yeah, exactly. Jose Reyes was my favorite baseball player when the Jays got him, and then he became to Toronto, and he was no longer my favorite baseball player. But
yeah,
Tony Fernandez. I mean, honestly, I struggled to think. We had Eckstein at one point for a little while. We had a lot of shortstops in our life. Like Manny Lee was a shortstop with the Jays when they won a World Series after 20. I think Fernandez was there 92 or 93, and Manny Lee was a shortstop the other year.
Well, yeah, 93 was Fernandez
and 92
coming back.
Yeah. It wasn't Fernandez part of Fernandez was part of the McGriff deal. He was traded with McGriff for Alomar, right?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. And Joe Carter was Joe Carter. Both Alomar and Carter both came from the Padres. So I don't know if they came in the same trade or not. I'm going way back until I was really young, but I know they both came from the Padres. So yes. I doubt they were in the same deal, though. I don't think it was Tony Fernandez and Fred McGriff for Joe Carter and Roberto Alomar. But if it was, God bless that GM. But also shout out to Fred McGriff. I remember Fred McGriff as a Blue Jay, and he was second on my list for all-time Jays first baseman. But I was so young, and he left so young that he didn't make it. So, yeah, we're both going with Tony Fernandez. Not much to say, not much on an offensive hitter. Very stalwart defensively. Switch hitter, if I remember correctly. I could be wrong, but I think he was. Alomar was a switch hitter, too. Our middle infield was switch hitting a lot. But, yeah, no, it's not even close. I'll be shocked if we don't have the exact same list, to be honest with you. So far, we're on the same page. So let's just jump over third base. I know. Okay.
I'm just going to give a quick shout out here to. So there's a local guy named Keegan Matheson who works for MLB Network now.
Okay, cool.
As a writer.
Jealous.
So Keegan Matheson, throughout the early spring, was doing positional lists for greatest at positions for the Jays, because that's his position, is writing about the Jays for MLB Network.
Cool.
Or MLB.com. And his number one was also Tony Fernandez, but the Twitter poll had Troy Tulowitzki, Alex Gonzalez, and Marco Scutaro as their big list. And his list has Tulo on there and Scutaro. And then as his fifth, he has Jose Reyes. And then this is the part that makes me cringe a little bit, because, and this is where you want to talk about shortstop depth. Johnny Mack is an honorable mention. Now, I love John McDonald. I like blue collar guy, came to work, the Father's Day home run, of course. All of those things are great.
If he's on your all-time shortstops list, let's say we're not the Yankees.
He was a defensively sound and excellent player. He stole many hits. But let's be honest, if John McDonald is making your top five, that's rough. That's rough for depth. That is very rough. So Tony Fernandez, undisputed. And our third baseman, again, I don't see how we're not going to be aligned on this. The man who was robbed of a triple play.
Who?
The man who was robbed of his triple play.
You putting Kelly Gruber?
I'm putting Kelly Gruber.
Holy, I'm going to curse.
So
holy shit, are you serious?
So, do you have Josh Donaldson?
He won an MVP. Yes, I have Josh Donaldson.
So, I fully support Josh Donaldson. And I have some other people that are pretty.
Okay, run your list. Just run your list, because we can get into Gruber, because we can talk about the 92, 93 Jays. Well, he's only on the 92 Jays. But anyway, moral of the story, I'll talk about Kelly Gruber, but I want to hear everybody you got. So it's Gruber 1. Is Donaldson 2?
Yes.
Okay, who's 3?
I don't even know if I could give you 3. Maybe Encarnacion occasionally.
He was awful at third base.
He was not. He was not a great third baseman. He played third
There's
base.
no love for Troy Gloss. There's no love for
Troy Gloss. When he came over, I mean, Rance Mulliniks, I guess, if you're going to go there. Scott Rowland, like, what are you doing? Like, Scott Rowland and
no love
Troy
for
Gloss.
No love for Ed Sprague, huh?
Well, I have no issue with Ed Sprague.
Okay.
Okay, so here's the deal.
We were throwing Rance Mulliniks into Ed Sprague, you know, like it's like.
So, Rowland and Gloss were both excellent players, but they just weren't. Does it not feel like they weren't really Blue Jays?
Troy Gloss more than Scott Rowland, but I always hated Troy Gloss. I'm sure I'm beating a dead horse by saying this, but I'm sure I've said this before on the podcast, where Troy Gloss was either a home run or a strikeout. Like he was the worst contact hitter I've ever seen in my entire life. He made Sammy Sosa swing look like Griffey's. Oh my God, Troy Gloss. God bless him. Love Troy Gloss. But no, I don't love Troy Gloss. I don't know why I just said that. But
I put Gruber on there because I was feeling sentimental about the 92 World Series. I think Donaldson rightfully belongs on that list. I think it's a 1A, 1B, and you can argue you're Donaldson over Gruber for sure. Do you not have Gruber in your top?
You obviously can. So
yeah.
Yes.
I obviously Donaldson was significant to the franchise.
Huge.
But I also think Gruber was significant to the franchise.
I mean, I like Kelly Gruber, so I am going to tread lightly in trashing Kelly Gruber, because I'm not going to trash Kelly Gruber. But like, we're talking like that's like saying there's another center fielder in Seattle. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's Ooh, I don't know. I like Gruber. Yes, he got robbed of triple play. He was also horrendous in the '92 playoffs. I think he batted under 100. Not that Donaldson was a shining star for us in the postseason either,
Well, I was
but
about to say Donaldson wasn't
but
great
not as
there.
bad as Gruber. like if you look at Gruber's ALCS and World Series numbers, there's a reason Ed Sprague replaced him the next year. Also, I think Gruber's a little long in the tooth by that point. I think Gruber went to LA or Anaheim or California,
Yeah,
whatever
he went to
version they were.
he went to play the California Angels,
The
who then
California
became
Anaheim Angels of Los Angeles. Yeah,
the
those guys.
Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim.
Yeah. Shouts to Kelly Gruber, man. He was robbed of his triple play. That can't be denied. But let's be honest, that triple play was really caused by Devon White. But
He is on my
yeah,
list.
no, I would put Sprague over Gruber, and I would put Gloss behind that, and then I don't care because I just get sad thinking about those teams, so I'd rather not discuss it.
So I'm not going to say that Donaldson probably doesn't belong there because I'm not going to give you another another like clip worthy moment because I know you love them, but I'm only putting Gruber there out of sentimental value, and I need you to know that. I
I
need you to
understand
get
that,
that.
and
That's
I'm
it.
going to allow it. And I almost did the same thing for Pat Borders earlier, but I let my rational logic take hold. You apparently are not willing to do that today, but I'm okay with that because I don't hate Kelly Gruber. So I'm going to be okay with it. I feel like you ultimately slighted Mr. Ed Sprague, and I feel like you owe him an apology. But otherwise, yeah, we can
Shout
move
out
on.
to Ed Sprague.
I love Ed Sprague,
Sorry,
man.
pal.
Ed Sprague had a huge hit in the '93 World Series against the Phillies. I'll never forget that.
Yes.
Uh, Ed Sprague, I think, was originally a catcher too. I think he was Pat Borders' backup. Someone can correct me because we had Greg Myers as our number 2 catcher back then, and I think Sprague came up in the minors as a catcher. Also, funny fact: Carlos Delgado was a catcher in the Jays system when he first came up too. But they saw his bat and were like, "How about we try you?" If they tried him in all kinds of places, actually, if you go back and look at Delgado's early career as a Blue Jay, they tried him like 4 or 5 positions before I think they ultimately settled on first base. Jeez, oh man.
Yeah.
I just realized that I put Olerud over Carlos Delgado, and I forgot Delgado was a first baseman. Oh, all right. You know what? I'm standing by it. Damn it, I'm standing by it. But huge shout outs to Carlos Delgado, one of my top 10 favorite Blue Jays of all time. But so is Olerud. So I feel zero remorse. But Delgado was a stud, and I feel bad. Move on. What do we got? Left field.
Well, do you want to? I mean, obviously, we don't need to talk Donaldson. We know Donaldson's a stud. You're gonna give me your outfield. We talked about this before, so I'm not gonna
Yeah.
differentiate between right and left field.
Yeah, well, that was
I
my
feel
thing
like
because I couldn't get our 2 beloved right fielders. I couldn't leave one out. You cannot for they're both there for sentimental value for the exact same reason. One was bigger than the other, but in left field, I put Jose Batista. If someone wants to say, well, Batista couldn't play left field, he was right field. I tell you, you've never played baseball because there's next to no difference. And in right field, I threw jumping Joe Carter because damn it, man, if you're a Jays fan and you're my age and you don't have Joe Carter in right field, I don't want to talk to you about this conversation. And in center field, I put Vernon Wells.
okay. So center field, I have one difference. I am
Ooh.
with you with Carter and Joey Bats.
Are
I
you going
think
93, 92 nostalgia and throwing Devon White at me?
I am going to throw Devo at you because he
All
was an
right,
excellent player.
I am not mad. If you want to throw Devo White in there, I am a-okay with it. I just broke it down to brass tacks, and Vernon Wells was a freaking phenom for a while, and then we gave him that contract. And I think that soured our view on him, but I feel Vernon deserves this. Not many guys from that era of Blue Jays are making this list, so I felt the need to differentiate. Otherwise, it would just be the back-to-back episode where we talk about the 92, 93 Jays mostly, right?
Well, and you're not wrong there. So I want to start with Joey Bats. Obviously, one of the more recent significant hitters in the franchise's history. Plus, he ranks so highly amongst like all-time great Blue Jays in terms of offensive category. So I don't even know how you couldn't. He turned. He took his approach. He took his opportunity and said, I'm going to make the most of this, and hit 54 dingers. And you can say whatever you want about Juice. I don't care. It is what it is. I don't know
I
if
don't
he
think
did. I
Jose
don't think
Batista
he
was a
did.
juicer. Personal
No,
opinion. People can argue, but he is from Latin America, so it's possible. But that body type did not scream roid use in.
no, he didn't. He didn't get the giant forehead like Barry Bonds.
No,
Are we not allowed to
I
say
think
that?
the Jays' great hitting coaches really turned Jose Bautista around, and I think that
That coupled with opportunity.
yeah, of course.
Everywhere else he had been in the NL, he was always a utility guy. Like bring
Yeah,
him
he
in a
played
couple.
third
He
base. He
didn't get.
played a bunch of places, and
Yeah,
he never had a really good hitting coach that worked with him. Like Batista became a pull hitter in Toronto, right? Like he was just kind of a
yeah,
slap hitter before that, and then like I think he was there with Gaston, right? Like Gaston and those guys brought him along because Gaston was a great
yeah.
developer of hitters, and I believe that's what happened. I wouldn't throw juice at Jose Batista. I firmly
A lot of
believe.
people do. I don't.
I mean, people like to be negative, and people the bat flip is a very polarizing topic. My girlfriend just threw
Yeah.
the bat flip. Funny story: when the bat flip happened, I was sitting in my living room. It was the year I got my girlfriend into baseball. She loves baseball to this day. And the seventh inning from hell, as I call it, which turned out really well, but it was like the worst. It was the worst hour of my life. I think excruciating pain.
Yeah.
But when he hit that home run, I have a recliner. It's right here. I'm going to tap it real quick for audible sound. I jumped out of the chair and kicked a table. Like I kind of like face planted onto my carpet, celebrating because I just lost my ever loving mind of what had just happened because the whole inning was like a movie. And I almost broke my foot. So Jose Bautista's bat flip. Though I was 9 years old when Joe Carter hit the home run, I remember it vividly. But as a kid, when I was a little kid, and you can agree, you can attest to this, the Jays were really good when we were kids. Like when Carter hit that home run in '93, we didn't think like this team's never going to make the playoffs again for 20 some years. Like that was not what we thought was going to happen. So the bat flip was like, I mean, put it this way, to give you an example of how much the 2015 Jays meant to me. I have the hat, the AL East hat, and I have the AL East hoodie. I bought the merch of just winning the AL East. It had been 22 years since I'd watched the Jays in October. And the bat flip is like the crowning moment of that run. So yeah, while it went left against Kansas City, that series against Texas being down 2-0, like Harold Reynolds, I think it was, making the comments about Canadian baseball fans, which by the way, I still defend him. I still think he was right to say that because I think Canadian baseball fans. I remember in July talking about the Blue Jays incessantly. People were like, you like the Blue Jays? What's wrong with you? And then 2 months later, everybody was coming in and buying Blue Jays hats at the Foot Locker I was part-timing at. Like, you know what I mean? Like the Blue Jays were the hottest thing in town. And I remember the guy that said it to me, he's like, wow, you were really ahead of the curve on this one. I'm like, because I've been with this curve for 20-some years. But
there's a difference between being ahead of the curve and being
just being a fan, right?
Forever.
Like I'll be blunt. Like there's been years with the Jays where I have just tuned it out. Like this team sucks, and I just don't want to put myself through this. But like they don't have to be a playoff team for me to want to watch every game. But I'd like them to win about 83 to 85 games. If it looks like they're going to go under that, I cut ties and be like, I can't watch. There's nothing worse than watching your team lose 90 times in a year. You know what I mean? Like that's you're asking a lot of to watch a brutal team for 8-9 months every day. I love baseball, but if the Jays suck, I often just find other outlets of baseball. I'm not saying I'm a fair weather fan, but like they need to at least be respectable and competitive. Like the 2013 Blue Jays, when that season went off the rails, I bailed out. I think they had an 11-game win streak that year. I think after the 11-game win streak is when I pulled the plug. I remember vividly, like, I don't need this kind of negativity in my life. And the same is true for like the Raptors too. Like I love the Raptors, but a lot of the really bad Raptor teams I definitely skipped out on. But yes, Jose Bautista is possibly my second favorite Blue Jay of all time, behind Robbie Alomar. The bat flip, the whole nine, like the attitude, the swagger.
Well, I was going to say the swag that Bautista had when those Jays were hitting all those that 2015 season. And for the record, I will regularly rewatch that sequence of events. Everything from Russell hitting the bat on the throwback, the entire craziness that ensued. I remember the simmering rage, and then the boiling over rage, and then the like, I can't believe he committed one error. I can't believe he committed another error. What do you mean there's more errors? And then there's no way he's going to hit a home run here. And then kids cover years. Holy fuck, he hit a home run.
Not only did he hit a home run, though, like he hit kids cover years, a fucking monster home run. That wasn't like no weak, no disrespect to Joe's home run. It's the greatest home run in Jays history, obviously. But like that shit, like I took Corey to a game last year. It was Vlad's first game I went to. And I took her up in the concourse, and I'm like, I pointed down, like that's where Carter's home run landed. Like it's a special moment, right? Like it's the most iconic home run in baseball history. Let's be honest. Like there's no bigger home run than Carter's home run. Sure, Americans like to spin Gibson and other guys, but like the Carter home run is the home run on film. Like it's a walk-off World Series winning home run that every little boy growing up playing baseball dreams about hitting. Joe Carter's the only one to ever do it, so therefore it is the home run. But Batista's means more because when I was 9, the Jays had lost in the ALCS in 91, won the 92 World Series, then won the 93 World Series, and also went to the playoffs in 89. The team was really good for most of my youth. Like 86, I think they were really good too. Like, or 85, they were really good in 85. I wasn't watching then, but like they were good consistently.
They were competitive, right? They were competitive.
They were always competitive and consistently really good. What happened
that was before crazy wild cards too, right?
What's that?
That was before crazy wild card games. Like that wasn't
the wild card itself debuted in 95 after the walk. And
right. So like we were watching a competitive Jays team making the playoffs when only the division winners got in.
And the divisions there was only 2 divisions back then too. Let's make that clear. Yeah. So like, winning the AL East back in 1991 was a tall task because literally there was the West Coast teams. And then there was the like Midwest over to the West, and everything inside the Midwest East was the AL East, right? Like there was no AL Central, AL South, and all that crap. Oh, there is an AL South now. I'm just being an idiot. But there's AL West, AL East, AL Central, right? There's 3 divisions now, and then there's the wild card teams. Yeah. Okay. So there wasn't 3 divisions back then. Anyway, I'm losing the plot here. The Toronto Blue, the Jose Bautista home run ended an era of suffering. My whole adult life, I'd never seen the Blue Jays in October. Like the closest they'd gotten, I believe, was 2006, where they went 87-75 and finished in 3rd place. Or no, they finished in 2nd place. The Red Sox finished in 3rd that year. So the Yankees won the division, and that one was a heartbreaker. That was like Burnett and Halladay and Wells and Glass and Overbay and those guys. But like the Batista home run was like we had turned a corner. Of course, we let Anthopoulos go and everything went to shit. But there was a moment, and it felt like the whole country was behind the team again. And it was like, it was the same thing as when we were children. I didn't know they could suck when I was a kid. I then got 22 years of them basically sucking. So the Batista home run means more to me personally than the Carter home run. Because I didn't know how good I had it when I was 9, but I sure as hell knew I wasn't going to waste the Batista home run. So that's why Batista's my left fielder, Carter's my right fielder, and I went with Vernon Wells just to throw someone from that era, a pretty good Jays team in there. It was also.
I want to like, so Devo White was the guy that I threw in there because of how he played, and of course, right? Like I love Devon White. One of my friends actually met him in Las Vegas, and I was like mega envious. He was just working out in the gym, and all of a sudden Devon White is there, like working out, and he was like, excuse me, are you Devon White? And he's like, yeah. And he's like, you mind if I get a picture? And he's like, not at all. Super chill, like awesome guy. So shout out to Devo.
I don't want to be a dick. I'm pretty sure Devon White is probably just happy people still recognize him. A lot of those old 90s baseball players have been kind of forgotten, right? Unless they were.
That's true.
But shout out to Devon White. I agree with you.
But I'm going to say this. Vernon Wells gets a bad rap for a few reasons. One, that monster contract, and then like not performing as well after signing. That sucks, right? Like you can't really fault fans, but they get really crummy at you when you toss up a huge contract and then don't perform. But Vernon Wells was still probably one of the more significant Jays over that entire era that we're talking about, where they weren't winning anything. I think he's a little bit underrated as far as Jays go.
Vernon Wells, absolutely, because again, that contract soured us on him, right? Like we loved Vernon. Vernon was our guy, and then he signed that contract, and he never lived up to it. And it's not that he didn't live up to it, like he was awful. He just wasn't as good as he was before he got the contract. And when you're let's be honest, the Toronto Blue Jays, even though it's not a small market, the Toronto Blue Jays are a small market team. So when we invest that kind of money into a guy, he has to produce. You know what I mean? Like it's not a matter of will he produce? He has to. And because we don't sign guys like that very often to big dollars like that. So when he was a dud, mind you, the other guy that got the exact same contract that year, Barry Zito, was also a dud for his team in San Francisco. So,
Yes.
but Vernon was phenomenal. Vernon's probably the best defensive center fielder we've ever had. Vernon had a bit of the Joe Carter, though, since he's going to right field. We'll talk about that. Joe Carter had the Troy Gloss Joe Carter effect. Whether either they were going to make really great contact or they were probably going to strike out, and they didn't have very discernible eyes for pitches. And that was probably, I think pitchers found that a little more after he signed the contract, and that's probably why Vernon dipped so much, because he never dipped defensively.
No. Well, he's a 3-time Gold Glove winner.
Is he really?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I know he's a good 3-time Gold Glover, and he totally deserved it. He was phenomenal. Sorry, I thought you meant Devon White was a 3-time Gold Glover. I'm like, is he? But never mind. I think Devon White got a Gold Glove too. But
Devo's got Devon White's a 7 times Gold Glove winner.
Yeah, he was a bad man in center field.
Yeah, he's a big time Gold Glove winner. I think Vernon totally understand why you would put Vernon in there, and I agree. There's a lot of guys that, I mean, our pitcher is from that era, but other than that,
we both can agree that there's been some pretty good center fielders in Toronto. Actually, there's been like Shannon Stewart was pretty good.
Yeah, he was excellent.
Often forgotten Blue Jays center fielder. Pilar doesn't make this list, but I like Kevin Pilar. Yeah, Shannon Stewart is probably the third runner-up. I would say. I can't think of anyone else. Honorary mention, although he was only there for about half a season in left field, to Ricky Henderson, by the way, and also an honorable mention since we're going full-blown nostalgia to Candy Maldonado. Toronto's never had a marquee center left fielder other than Ricky Henderson. So, and he was only there for like a few months. Did I ever tell you the Olerud Ricky Henderson story?
No, but you should. Jesse Barfield was a good center fielder, but again,
yeah, Jesse was a little before my time. He was still there, but he was kind of winding down. I thought Jesse Barfield was a right fielder.
A center fielder, according to Baseball Reference.
There's a moment where Barfield throws someone out from the warning track, and
he's played right and center. So who knows what those splits are?
What was Lloyd Mosby? Sorry, we're going way down Jay's rabbit hole. I remember Lloyd
center field, right field. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, Mosby was the center fielder when this play happened, and that's how I remember it. Is Barfield throws a guy out from the warning track, which is obscene. I think the guy's running from second too. It's obscene. But yeah, the Jays have never had a marquee left fielder really. Like it's. I can't think. I think at one point in time, Adam Lind was one of our best left fielders. Like, I mean,
I mean, we had Alex Rios playing center for a while too.
But he was our right fielder with Vernon.
Yes. Yeah, he was a center fielder, and we moved him to right because Vernon was in center. It's probably fine. Crazy, unproductive years, unfortunately, as a team. Do you want to do your Who's your DH?
Edwin.
Yeah, I also have Edwin. And we have the same mentions.
Edwin with honorable mentions to Dave Winfield and Frank Thomas.
Frank Thomas is an interesting guy to throw in there. There's a lot of guys that could probably be thrown on that DH list, to be fair. But
Delgado never left first base, did he? Was he a DH? I don't remember.
I don't know. Delgado might be the guy that we're missing the most on this list because he was probably the other guy.
Primary contender to be like the first guy if like he's 1B at first base for me. So
yeah, unfortunately, because we're only doing single starting, he got left off. I feel bad because I love Carlos Delgado.
So do I. You heard me earlier when I said I forgot him. Like, oh God, if I had thought of Delgado, I don't know if Olerud would have made the list, but I wrote my list down, so I got to stick with it. I can't change gears, but it's close. Yeah. I'm gonna be honest. I think Carlos Delgado is probably a better Blue Jay than John Olerud, but John Olerud won a World Series and won a batting title the year we won a World Series, so he gets a slight nod. But Delgado is a bad dude, so yeah.
Yeah. He was pretty impressive. Edwin had to be on the list as your DH, though, doesn't he?
I love that guy. So yes, the parrot, the arm, and the parrot. The home run against Baltimore. The home run
against Baltimore is an interesting one that you bring up there because as much as I want to give, so Encarnacion crushes it, and that whole year, Edwin was probably one of our like more clutch home run hitters. Wouldn't you think? Or wouldn't you say?
He was king of the grand slams. I felt like every time he came up with the bases loaded, Edwin Encarnacion hit a grand slam. He probably didn't, but it felt like he did. He hit a lot of them. I think he hit like 6 or 7 of them in a 2-year period.
This is 2016, right?
Yeah, we're talking 2016 is the home run against Baltimore against that.
Yeah.
Remember the pitcher's name? He had
So
that really weird hind kick.
wasn't it? Didn't he hit Ubaldo Jimenez?
Yes, with that crazy delivery. Yes, he did.
So the best part about that is I'm pretty sure Zach Britton was the guy that was
Yeah,
in the.
you are
Yeah.
bringing up the controversy. Yep, that's why Britain
So
left Baltimore.
this is why I like. So I love Edwin and the Edwing, but Baltimore was their own worst enemy that year. You have one of the like marquee closers in the game ready to go, and you bring in a guy you basically who's given. I mean, he's not a scrub, but he was certainly not one of the like top 5 closers in the game that year. And
Jimenez or Zach Britton?
Britton was one of the top 5 closers in the game that year.
Britton won the Cy Young that year, I'm pretty sure.
You might be right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
he did.
unreal. That year, Edwin hit 127 RBI, and I'm pretty sure that was league leading.
Believe so. Yes.
So like, it's not like 42 home runs and 127 RBI. And that was the year that his agent done messed with us, and unfortunately he left. Boo.
Okay, for the record, he didn't win the Cy Young in 2016. He finished 4th, but he won the Mariano Rivera Award, and he finished behind Rick Porcello, Justin Verlander, and Corey Kluber. Rick Porcello, talk about a one-hit wonder.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
So I just feel like Edwin had to be on as my DH. He just too much from that, like from I guess 2012, like 2011, he started to come around. He started to figure it out a little more. And 2012 is I think when Jose started to. He might have been when Jose was coming up as well.
2010 was Jose's big year, the 54 that you mentioned earlier.
Yeah. So all of a sudden, everybody's starting to pay attention to the Jays. We got Edwin in a trade from Cincinnati as a throw-in.
Yeah, we used to call him E5 because he used to always make errors at third base. Edwin. So here's a little internal story about Edwin Encarnacion. I adopted Edwin early on, and it was when Brett Lawrie was there, or Lowry, or whatever the hell his name is. Whatever. Anyway, me and a guy that I no longer speak to, but I was friends with at the time, had a little raging debate over who was better, Edwin Encarnacion and Brett Lawrie, whatever his name was. Who cares?
Yep.
Anyway, moral of the story is that I crushed him in that debate. Edwin was a absolute beast, and I think Brett Lawrie's somewhere drunk right now, wishing he was still playing baseball. But whatever, here nor there. Yeah, I hate that guy. I think we traded Sean Markham to get Brett Lawrie, if I'm not mistaken. I hate that deal too. I like Sean Markham. Oh God, I like Sean Markham.
Yeah. Just as a comparative note, in the 8 years that Edwin was with the Jays, his batting average was 268.
It's over 250.
But he had 239 home runs with 679 RBIs. It's not like he almost had 1,000 hits, 977, and he had 999 games with the Jays, one short of the 1,000. Brutal. And then he goes off to Cleveland for a couple of years, and I think now he's in Seattle.
He's a Yankee now, isn't he?
No, he went to Cleveland for 2 years, then New York, and then New York traded for him, and that made us all cringe. And now he's in Seattle. I think he was part of the deal for the Big Maple.
I thought he went Cleveland, Seattle, New York. My bad.
You might hold on. No, you are correct.
Yeah.
No, hold on.
I'm losing my mind here. He's in Seattle now. I think you're right.
I think he is in Seattle now.
Well, apparently, no. He's in Chicago. Thank God. I mean, he's not that bad. Has he been that bad since he left? I don't follow him anymore.
This is the problems.
He had 34
dear listeners, we're sorry.
Why is he flying around so much? He's still productive.
Yeah.
So, okay, I was right. He started the year in Seattle, but then went to New York, and now he's a White Sox. So he played for both teams last year. And he hit 13 home runs in 44 games for the Yankees and 21 home runs in 65 games for Seattle. That guy was still putting up – his first 2 years in Cleveland, he put up 38 and 32. Like, he never really dipped. Yeah. Like, I don't understand why. I guess just big power hitting, low average hitting DHs aren't valuable anymore in the sabermetrics world of baseball. But I love Edwin Encarnacion, and I was devastated when we got Kendrys Morales instead. Devastated.
Yeah, I like Kendricks, but I liked Edwin better.
I don't. But again, I like Kendricks Morales more than I like Justin Smoke, so whatever the case may be. I hate Justin Smoke. If we're going to make an all-time list of guys I hate, Justin Smoke is starting at first base.
Oh, shots fired at Smokey.
No, it's not shots fired. If you can't hit a curveball, you shouldn't be playing Major League Baseball. That's how I feel.
He cannot hit a curveball. He can't.
And if you cannot, you should not be a starting everyday baseball player if you cannot hit, pardon the language, a fucking curveball. And he
was
can't.
An excellent first baseman fielder, though.
Oh, why do people always say that? Like that was somehow saving grace. Being a good first baseman defensively is like
because Steve, over the course of the last 30-something years, there have been players such as Kevin Pillar and John McDonald, and all we have is their defense. Toronto is excellent at signing guys who can't do one thing but can do something else, and that's what they point to. So every time I've been conditioned since a youth to whenever someone says this player sucks, you go, yeah, but they were an excellent fielder, because if there's one thing Toronto can do, it's we can sub out a guy in the 9th inning to protect a lead, except for a pitcher. We don't have many relievers that we could do that with. I'm just kidding. It was better lately, but some pretty bad bullpens back in the day as well.
Oh, God. You know, we're probably going to do an all-time worst Leafs list, so we're probably going to do an all-time worst Jays list. And by the way, I've already dropped 2 of them. Justin Smoke and Russ Adams make up the right side of my infield. Oh, God. I could probably do that.
Here, we're going to bring it back to somewhere that we both can appreciate and love, and let's talk about our starting pitcher for our all-time team. There's a lot of guys that probably could be on the list, but I had to go with Doc.
Yeah, I went with Jesse Litch.
You went with what?
Jesse Litch. I'm kidding.
Yeah, you went with AJ Burnett?
No, I was thinking about Josh Towers, and then I was like, maybe it's gonna be.
It was R.A. Dickey, wasn't it? We really want to enrage Jays fans.
No. In all fairness, to be fair here. Oh God. Oh man, there's so many bad ones. I could just throw it there. Doc Pitchfield. Josh Towers is probably the worst pitcher I ever saw the Jays have. Gustavo Chacin. There you go. I got it. There you go. That guy. I remember we took an 8-0 lead in the first inning against Oakland. He blew it in the bottom of the first. Oh, I hate that guy. Oh, and he had that stupid cologne because Sportsnet's uncreative old boomer humor. Oh, yes. God. Gustavo Chacin. Look, we can gush about Doc all day long, and I'm sure we've done it before. But I think it's more fun to just talk about how many bad Blue Jays pitchers we've seen in their life than good ones. Because Doc is a class of his own. We obviously had Rockin' Royd and Roger for 2 years. We had Dave Stewart, who was excellent. We had Jimmy Key, who was excellent. We also, who was also a really good Jays pitcher, and no one ever remembers him, was Todd Stottlemyre was pretty good. Did I say Juan Guzman? Juan Guzman. Pat Hankin.
How'd you feel about Mark Burley?
Mark Burley was my favorite pitcher outside of Doc Halladay until he came to Toronto and he was on fumes, and I felt really bad watching it, but I loved him anyway. I told the story in the podcast before I went to a Jays game where it was Halladay versus Burley, and the game lasted like 78 minutes.
He was a throwback to when pitchers had to pitch. He was an excellent pitcher, and I kind of feel the same way about. I love Estrada too, but
that changeup! I love that changeup. Yes,
could not put him on the list. Although I really wanted to. Estrada was amazing. I had to.
If Doc Halladay didn't exist, it would have been Marco Estrada.
It probably would have had to have been.
No, it wouldn't have had to have been. It could have been Rock and Royd and Roger. But
no.
I think Jack Morris once won 23 games for us too. Like there's a lot of guys. Like Pat Henkin won a Cy Young too. Let's not forget. Like there's guys that have been great Jays pitchers. I think David Wells probably could have made the list. There's a lot of guys. Although my favorite David Wells quote of all time is, "As long as you're left-handed and have a heartbeat, you can probably pitch a Major League Baseball." Just David Wells. No, but like all jokes aside, and I think we could dedicate an episode to 2007 Josh Towers, who went 0-10 with an ERA of like 7. I'm sure that's not accurate, but it felt like an ERA of 7. God, that guy sucked. I want to tell one more story about Josh Towers. Josh Towers gave up a home run to Sammy Sosa, I think in 2006 or 2007. I don't remember what year it was. And he gave a press conference after the locker room saying, like, it's so embarrassing to give up a home run to him. There's so many holes in his swing. And, like, normally you support your guy. I was like, Sammy Sosa's got like 650 career home runs. You have an ERA over 10 and haven't won a game in 2 years. Who the f are you talking about? It's like, oh my God. Towers also, I believe, gave up a home run to Barry Bonds in an interleague play in Bonds last season. I think Towers also got taken. Josh Towers thought he could pitch to Barry Bonds, so that's a fun story. I remember that one. I think Bonds hit it about 479,000 feet. Like I think it hit Neil Armstrong in the head in the black hole from 1969 when they went to the moon. He hit it so far. Oh God, Josh Towers, I hate that guy. Anyway, Roy Halladay. Let's talk about Roy Halladay. Change my mind here. Let's go.
Well, I just don't know how you. Doc is one of those guys that, and you talked about Vernon Wells being someone that you wanted from that era. Doc on several teams, I guess outside of one during his entire career, had no business really. I mean, they were minor league teams for a lot of the time. No offense to those Jays teams, some of those people, but they were just not very good. Like there were some awful teams during those down years, and Doc would come out and he was kind of like a must watch game for me from like I guess like 2002 onward. Doc was just the best, and professional, and the games were short. He almost always tried to go a complete game. He'd never really pull himself out. Like innings pitched, he was a beast. He would always try to do his best out there, and he won a lot of games for really bad teams by being a better pitcher than the teams were hitting. And I know that there are some non-Jays moments that were pretty spectacular, including playoff no-hitter and perfect game.
Yeah.
Both of those well-deserved. I never consider myself a Phillies fan by any stretch, but cheered for Doc during those times because it's hard not to. He's just kind of the epitome of hard work, especially when it comes to baseball. So
I have 3 Blue Jays jerseys. I have a Roy Halladay jersey, I have a Jimmy Key jersey, and I have a Vlad Guerrero Jr. jersey. I felt like I got the Doc was a no-brainer. Jimmy Key was a throwback. I bought the day after I bought the Doc jersey when I went to back-to-back games in Toronto a couple of years ago. And the Vlad jersey I bought because at least I knew I was going to get a few years out of it before he left. So it tells you like it's a pretty elite company. My 2 favorite pitchers in Jays history are Jimmy Key and Roy Halladay. So I seeing him pitch live, seeing him pitch against Burley, who was also one of my other favorite guys. I don't think Roy Halladay could throw a ball straight, but had excellent control at the same time. Dominated guy. Didn't strike out a lot of guys. Wasn't a big strikeout guy, but like great ground ball pitcher. Pitch to contact. Dominated the American League for 6-7 years, I'd say. 7, 8 years. Remember he broke his leg when they drove the ball back at him. I remember him like dueling guys like Johan Santana, and like he went through. Like he used to face everyone's aces, and there was a lot of great aces in that era of baseball. And he was a cut above the rest. And it's a shame because we're talking about him with a somber tone because of how he died. And it's a shame he's dead and he didn't get to go in the Hall of Fame while he was living. But Roy Halladay deserved a better. Much like he was on the same team as Vernon Wells. Vernon Wells and Roy Halladay deserved better fates than they had in Toronto. And I was very sad when Philly couldn't win for Roy. I was hoping that those teams had enough juice left in the tank to get Roy a ring. Sadly, it wasn't meant to be, but because he went there in 2010, if I'm not mistaken. I think he was on fumes. Like he had one good year left in Philly, and then he was.
I mean, he went 21-10 the year he went to Philly. So
yeah, but then the next year he fell off a cliff, right? Like if I'm
19-6.
Okay, then the third year the third year he fell off a cliff. Then I knew he fell off a cliff in Philly. It was bad.
Yeah, 11-8 in 2012 with only 156 innings pitched in 2012, and then 2013, his last year in the league, he went 4-5, only 62 innings pitched, and like a 6.82 ERA, which just isn't.
That's not
Roy, right? Like 2011, he had a 2.35 ERA and went 19-6. He was 2.44 ERA and 21-10 in 2010 with Philly. But in that 2012,
it was him and Cole Hamels.
That's right. Yeah.
That was a hell of staff. Not much else can be said about Roy other than like great split finger fastball, just great stuff. Great guy. Took out a full page ad when he left Toronto, thanking the city of Toronto. Him and his wife. He ran like huge charities in Toronto for the Jays. Wanted to be there, but just knew that there wasn't going to be any winning, and he was running at a time, and he had to get a shot. And I never begrudged him that.
Nope, not at all. One of the few
Roy
guys that when
Halladay
he left, I
is
felt good about it.
probably in that select few. Like he's easily the favorite. Him and Jimmy Key are my favorite pitchers. So it's like Alomar, Key, Halladay, Batista, and then probably it's hard to admit Joe Carter, but I just have there's something I appreciate more about the 2015 team because as I illustrated before about how bad they were for so long, that when they were finally good again, it meant more. And that rings true. But Roy Halladay deserved to be a part of those 2015, 2016 Jays. I know he would have been way too old and wouldn't be very good anymore, but he deserved that chance, and we never gave it to him because the team, Rogers cheapskated their way out of it every year. But shout out to Roy Halladay, man. Rest in peace.
I know we mentioned Carlos Delgado, a couple other great guys. There have been a lot of great Jays, and there's some guys. Well, there have like, and you don't necessarily remember them all, but like, I mean, you mentioned a bunch of them going over the pitchers. We had a lot of great pitchers. Sean Green. Did we talk about Sean Green at all?
Sean Green is one of those pain points that you don't like. I'm a Leafs fan. The Leafs once traded away Scott Niedermayer for like nobodies, and that hurts. Sean Green getting dealt to the Dodgers hurts just as much. Sean Green was a bad man because we had Delgado and Green at one point, and I think the 99 Jays were the 98 or 99 Jays with those two. I think were really really good. Like they were on the cusp, and of course they were going up against the Yankees and just died a horrible death. But like they make the playoffs, but like it was a tough division, 99 Red Sox, Yankees. But that's always been our plight as Jays fans, is being in the division with the two superpowers of baseball. Third being the Dodgers. But yeah, Sean Green belongs in that honorable mention list. Didn't play there very long. Adam Lind does too. Adam Lind is not as good as those guys, but Adam Lind definitely belongs. Adam Lind was a bad dude for a couple of years there. I'm a huge fan of his. He deteriorated pretty quickly, but Adam Lind. Another one was really good too. Was Jose Cruz Jr. was a really good Blue Jay. Orlando Hudson probably would be the second baseman behind Roberto Alomar. He's probably the only other good second baseman we've ever had. So,
yeah, I would say so.
Yeah, I mean, if Devin Travis wasn't made of glass, maybe. I know
R.I.P. Devin Travis's career. Sorry.
Yeah, he was made of glass. Oh God, him getting hurt pretty much cost us that year in the play. Whatever. Yeah. There's lots of guys though. Like I kind of dropped a bunch of names throughout. Right. Like here, you want an all-time least favorite Blue Jays list? Just real quick. I mentioned Smoke. I mentioned Russ Adams.
You can throw Lyle Overbay.
I don't got no hate for Lyle Overbay. He wasn't great, but he had a lot of doubles, man.
Mr. Doubles.
He had a lot of gap shots. You know what I mean? Like I'm not mad at him. Shortstop God. Oh my God. Oh no, we're not going there. Third base would probably be Corey Koski. Corey Koski would be the worst Jays.
Koski, okay.
Center field, Toronto Blue Jays. My God, don't make me do this. Whoever was there after Devon White left. I don't remember who it was, but whoever the guy was. Fuck that guy. Left field. I'm struggling.
Ezekiel Carrera? You going to throw Carrera in there?
I loved Miggy. So
no, not Miggy. Ezekiel.
Oh, yeah. I blocked that one out. Thank you for that. That was Jose Canseco in right field, by the way, is the worst all-time Jays right fielder. Behind the plate, though, is why I'm making this list. I already gave Josh Towers the worst Jays pitcher of all time, so let me go behind the plate real quick. I did first baseman, Smoke. I've done every position. Except for I didn't really give the guy after Devon White, whoever the hell that was. I didn't name a center fielder because honestly, the Jays have always had pretty solid center fielders. I can't really complain too much. There's never been a guy. Oh no! The guy that was there before Kevin Pillar, he was terrible. He hit like 180 every year. God, he's left-handed. He was supposed to be a big star. He got him from Los Angeles. What was his name? He sucked. Oh my God! He went to Houston and he sucked there. God, what's his name? You know what I'm talking about, right?
It's completely blanking on me.
But you know what I'm talking about, right? The white guy had the long hair. Jays 2013 center fielder. Colby
Rasmus?
Yes. Oh, I hate that guy so much. Yes. Yes, that guy, Colby Rasmus. Thank you. Oh God, that guy sucked. All right.
Please
Worst
tell
DH
me
of
you're
all
getting the
time.
catcher.
Worst DH of all time, Shea Hillenbrand. And my favorite worst J of all time, it's a tough one at the catcher position. I name dropped one earlier, JP Arencibia is pretty close. But number one in the I hate this fucking guy list, Greg Zahn. Oh, I hate
Greg Zahn.
Oh, fuck that guy. I'm cursing a lot because I really hate that guy.
For many reasons that we're not going to get into too deep.
Oh no! Forget his broadcasting career, trying to be Baseball Canada Don Cherry and being an absolute douche nozzle. No, I'm talking about the actual catcher. Whenever people tell me that steroids make baseball players better, I always tell them Greg Zahn tested positive for steroids, and they shut up because that's how bad Greg Zahn was. So yeah, Greg Zahn is the all-time worst Jays catcher, followed closely by JP Arencibia. An honorable mention to Charlie O'Brien.
Oh man, I
didn't
love
meet Charlie O'Brien in a long time, did you?
Yeah, that's a good one.
And Josh Coley too. That guy.
We've got some fun stuff coming up in the next couple of weeks. This has been fun.
Yeah.
Make sure you're following us on the socials. That's where we put up all of our upcoming things, and we'll have some new stuff for you soon, and hopefully we'll finally get to our long-awaited collaboration. I can't wait to drop this for you guys. It's going to be fun. Thanks, Steve.
Thanks.
And that does it for this week's episode of the Armchair Commentary. Steve and I would like to thank you for taking some time into your day to listen to the podcast. If you have any feedback, comments, or just want to let us know that you thought it was a great episode, or maybe you thought it was a terrible episode, either way, let us know on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. You can follow us on social media, interact with us there. If you're looking for swag, make sure to check out the Armchair Commentary store over at redbubble.com. Search Armchair Commentary. Got lots of great stuff over there. Phone cases, notebooks, mugs, t-shirts, everything you could possibly want with the Armchair Commentary logos. If you are interested in supporting this podcast, please head over to patreon.com/armchaircommentary and check out the different tiers. Starting once sports resume, we're going to have some exclusive daily fantasy sport content for those who are subscribed to our top tiers. And last but not least, if you are looking for a great soccer podcast to check out, head over to Down the Pub and check out Down the Pub Podcast. Our friend Anthony Abbott is one of the best soccer/footy podcasters out there. You're not going to want to miss it. It's been an interesting week in non-sports. Can't wait to do it again next week. Thanks for listening.